The first thing that I wanted to take you through is how we comply with the new web content accessibility guidelines that Joe's mentioned, which are now on, version 2.2. Those guidelines came into effect in November 2024, just for kind of context around that. And we were working on a lot of these updates to ensure compliance over the course of last year, and they've now all shipped. So that's the kind of context around it. And we have got a video playing in the background here, which will sort of helpfully illustrate some of the things that we've developed. But it is worth being aware of that the WCAG standards are very much about usability rather than sort of exciting features. So I'm just kind of moving around the cursor at the bottom here, and this is naturally an embedded audio file. And the key thing here is that these audio files will not auto play, even when you move between pages, as I'm doing here. And that just ensures that anyone who may have issues with, say, loud noises or interruptions or unexpected noises, doesn't have that problem. So that's the first sort of thing. And that gives you an idea of the sort of things that you need to address with WCAG. The second thing around audio, as you can see here, I'm just kind of moving around that icon there, and you'll probably recognize that as a sort of a universal transcription icon, which indeed it is. So in terms of adding these transcripts, you just add it in the CMS as you usually do, and I can show you that in a sec. And this is naturally there for people who either, can't hear it and therefore can read it, but it also could be there for people with hearing loss and sight loss, and therefore it'll work with things like screen readers, which is the cool kind of assistive technology there. So there's a few notes, as I said, around the audio. The next thing we're going to look at, and one of the changes that we've made, is around landscape orientation of the app. So this should hopefully just change now to landscape. So there we are. And again, this is another stipulation of the latest guidelines. And the reason for doing it is that some people may struggle to hold their device in portrait mode for whatever reason. But it also can be a better way of displaying some information to some groups as well. So in terms of what it means, as you can see visually, everything is now, laid out quite literally in landscape mode. But this involved quite a lot of work around things like the text that I'm just sort of highlighting here, and just ensuring that when it does move to that landscape mode, the text still wraps correctly, which is, just making sure the app works properly, mainly. You'll also notice that the buttons here, if you've, used the product quite a lot, are now aligned next to one another, whereas normally they'd be stacked as well. And things like the buttons here, we've ensured, remain full width. And if we move through these here with the various kind of common listings you might have, again, you just see the user experience reflects the fact that we're now using landscape. So those options to select are side by side. Same here with some of our accessible amenities, and the same again for trails. And this is actually quite a bit of work because there are design considerations around it. Example here with the map, just the buttons on the bottom right-hand corner and how they're now, again, stacked horizontally. It's a fairly small example, but when you click through onto some of these filters, you'll notice some changes around there. As I said, just to make sure it works in landscape mode. There was also some design considerations around this. So if we look at the audio file on the first page, which I thought it was just about to show, but it isn't, we've had to slightly redesign how that works and displays to users to make sure it works properly. The other thing that we've added, and again, you'll be able to access from the content management system, and it's very easy to do, is the ability to put captions on all images. As we can see, we're kind of moving across here. And the captions are there, again, if it isn't just too obvious to say, to ensure that the people who can't see that image can still understand what is being represented by that image. And again, assistive devices will be able to pick up on that alt text as well. But we didn't want any of this to be a burden. So you will find in the content management system, it's just very simple to add things like the captions or the audio transcripts. You don't have to go hunting around for it. It's not a great job of work. It just makes it better for, all users. And as with most accessibility or digital accessibility stuff anyway, if you improve things for kind of all audiences, it does tend to just present a kind of a better user experience for everyone, regardless of their particular needs. So there's a bit around the closed captions. Some of the other stuff that we've been working on, which I believe should be coming up in this video, but I might just skip ahead. There we go, is color contrast. So color contrast, again, is really important for digital accessibility. And that really relates to how two colors contrast with one another. So in a lot of, say, the navigation here, it's mostly around two colors. So we can see there's the yellow and the blue, but also arguably three when you include the sort of off-white background. And it's really important for everyone. But if you do have any form of sight loss or you're colorblind, anything at all really, if you had, say, a light blue text over a white background, then you just won't be able to read it or rather comprehend it, and therefore you won't be able to use the product. So yeah, so we'll run all that through, as I said, a color contrast checker, which does exactly what it says on the tin and just makes sure that all those contrasts are correct. The final few bits to mention around it, which we can't really show in video form as such, but just talk you through it very quick, are there are now accessibility tags slash labels on all of the interactive elements of the platform. So that includes things like trails and hunts and the kind of the actions that you take when well taking part in one of those. The accessibility labels are not shown to the average user. So if we were to click, say, like with this one here on the trails, nothing is displayed to most people. But if you are using the assistive device and probably a screen reader, then that will pick up on all those alt tags, and you will be able to understand what's happening with the interactive elements. And that same will be true here on say hunts. So as I mentioned at the start, the meeting these guidelines is not necessarily like sort of exciting stuff, but it's just really, really important. And maybe it's not obvious. And then the final thing for compliance with version 2.2 is the ability to resize text within the platform. So yeah, for anyone that needs that larger font size. Generally, you do that through the settings on your device, or it could be, again, with some form of assistive tech that you're using. And what we're trying to ensure by making sure we have the correct text resizing is that you don't get a lot of, say, horizontal scrolling with horizontal scroll bars, which is a pretty poor user experience. As once meant, and that's one of many problems around incorrect text sizing. Anyway, I feel like I've taught myself in some sort of language circle with that, so I'll leave it there. But that's a summary of the changes that we made to ensure compliance with version 2.2. Yeah, and I hope that's been useful, really.